It's DSA 1, UGA fan rants and opinions. I ain't been on here in a minute, been real busy doing some things with life. But I just want to try to get some of these thoughts off my head right quick. These past, I want to say 2 weekends, I haven't really had a chance to see the Auburn game, and I haven't really had a chance to see the Vanderbilt game. But from what I understand and seeing at least the highlights from both games, we look okay. I've been hearing Stetson is probably hurt a little bit, kind of like a kind of like a JT Daniels type situation, but he played okay. And from listening to folks, well, I say at least Uncle Lou, from what I heard from what he was saying, we're not really getting the ball downfield like that, like we did earlier in the season, or in general per se. Like I said, it's my opinion / a rant. And our running backs are doing good. I know we got quite a few injuries in those athletic positions, and most teams are already going through that, if not every team already going through that. And also tying into the Alabama loss to Tennessee, a lot of Tennessee fans, from what I'm seeing and hearing so far, they really thinking that they got a chance to beat Georgia. And I'm not saying that they don't. I'm not going to sit up here and underestimate any opponent. I'm not saying that they don't. But what I'm saying is, from lockdown, I want to say Georgia, or lockdown on Bulldogs, they read off some stats that surprised me. I'll say that. And what I mean by surprised me, we're ranked, I want to say, in the top 10 in every category, offense and defense. Not including special teams, or at least I didn't hear the special teams part. So, if that's the case, going up against Tennessee, who is a definite threat on offense, I'll give them that. They're a threat on offense. But just going off of numbers from what I heard, they're not that really much of a threat, at least a passing threat on defense. If this dinking and dunking that Georgia is doing is still winning us games, and I'm not really even going to count the Vanderbilt game as a significant win, unless Vanderbilt was like, let's say, 6-1, 5-2 or something like that at the time, I would count that as a significant win. It's a decent win against a Vanderbilt team that will be having those type of numbers. And I could be wrong. I haven't even looked at their record yet. But based off that, I say it like this. Vanderbilt having those type of wins in the SEC, not beating smaller schools to put on their record. Can't knock a team for having who they have on their schedule. But I'm just saying, like, if Vanderbilt beat Kentucky, Mississippi State, Florida, and South Carolina, and then they lost 2 other games, I'd be like, okay, that win versus Vanderbilt is something to be like, all right, we showed out. But if not, I'm still not considering that a true win per se. It's a win because we had to play them. They're on our schedule. They're in our division, and we won. But it's not like beating, like last year when Georgia faced 4 undefeated teams at that time, and all of them were ranked, and beat every last one of them convincingly, except for maybe the Arkansas game. So beating all of them convincingly, that's what I mean by that when it comes to playing Vanderbilt. So Tennessee is showing that they are a problem. Not going to take that from them. Not going to badmouth them or anything like that. They knocked off one of the hardest teams as far as standard goes in college football. Took them to the wire and kicked a crazy field goal to win the game. Alabama, from what most folks are saying, from what I've seen the past 2 weeks, not these 2 weeks that just went by, but 2 weeks prior, they're looking a little bit like last year. They're struggle winning everything, and then get to the SEC championship and show out. Now, Alabama fans don't even have us on their radar. Nobody really has us on their radar, and I'm cool with that. Perfectly fine with that. They want to see Tennessee again to get their get back. Okay, what if Alabama coughs up a loss between Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and LSU? Just one more. They're out of the playoffs. Even if they win the SEC, they're out of the playoffs. They got 2 losses. That's basically how I'm looking at it when it comes to that stat. Just like if Oregon messes around and lose to UCLA, they took a loss to Georgia, but they also took a loss to UCLA. They're out of it. So if Georgia messes around and knocks off Tennessee convincingly, I'm not saying it's a close win like we did with Missouri and Samford, I think it was. It's not a win like that. It's like they do to Vanderbilt. Like if Georgia beats Tennessee like they did Vanderbilt. I'm not saying Tennessee's not going to score. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's like, let's say 59-17, 59-21 or something like that. What would people say then? That Georgia played nobody? A lot of people would like to say Georgia played nobody, or Alabama played nobody, or for this instance, Tennessee played nobody. When they're playing who they have on their schedule, that's all they can do. So this, you didn't play nobody crap is stupid. Like, I'm sick of hearing it. Unless you literally played nobody. Like, your division is doo-doo. That's the only time I can understand that. Like, yeah, Kentucky trash, South Carolina trash, Florida trash, Tennessee trash, Vanderbilt trash. Yeah, we had an easy schedule, Missouri trash. We had an easy schedule, we ran through it and coughed up an L to LSU, Alabama, even Mississippi State or Ole Miss. Just throwing that in there as a hypothetical. Yeah, because their conference is harder. For some weird reason this year, it seems like the SEC East is harder than the West. Florida choked up and let Florida choked up and let LSU get a win, which kind of made the East look a little bit shaky. But anybody can take an L on a Saturday. So they just happen to take that one. But other than that, and I think Kentucky lost to Ole Miss. But other than that, I think Tennessee played a SEC West team and won. Georgia has played Auburn and won. And I think South Carolina has A&M. Hopefully they win. And the East keeps it going. But I'm not too confident with South Carolina beating Texas A&M. I'm thinking that's going to be a very close game. And then, like I said before, the 2 games that I had an issue with that might give us problems is the Oregon game, 49-3. Okay, that's out the way. Possibly Tennessee, they're showing they're going to be an issue. And the Mississippi State game, which are 2 games we haven't even played yet. Or Georgia hasn't played yet. So, if Tennessee mess around and lose this week, what's the talk gonna be? Fire Heupel? Fire this, that, and the third? So-and-so garbage? I mean, what can you say? But I don't see Tennessee losing this weekend. I think they got Tennessee Martin. That's probably gonna be a 59-0 game for them. Georgia and Florida's off. I want Georgia to dog walk Florida, because Florida fans still think they got a chance to beat Georgia because we look sloppy in 2 decent games that we should have won. And like I said, from the Samford game, the only reason why Kirby Smart didn't beat the brakes off of that coach is because he knows that man. He showed that man respect. From what I understand, I really don't know what their history is or was. But with that being a part of the, I guess you could say, the conspiracy theory rumors, is that Kirby Smart didn't want to make him look that bad. He already knew, just speaking, he knew they were not going to beat Georgia. And I wonder how you win 33-0 is sloppy. Unless you just play like garbage and lucked up on some points. But the Missouri game, I did get a chance to see that. Georgia looked like they didn't know what the hell they were doing. Like, how the hell you looking like 2016 Georgia when you got players that can play better than what they were playing? Things happen in the game, that's understandable. But this right here is unacceptable. So hopefully Georgia gets some people healed and they come ready to play Florida with that same intensity they had last year. I would like to see a complete blowout, utter dominance of Florida. I can't stand Florida. The Deep South oldest rivalry, to me, really has nothing on the Florida rivalry. Because they don't like us, we don't like them, but at least some of the fans are cordial enough to not do stupid stuff like fight each other. But with that being my thought process on that, I wouldn't mind seeing Alabama in the SEC championship, beating them and eliminating them from the playoffs. I don't want Bama to lose another game, but some people are already saying the Mississippi State game, the Ole Miss game, and possibly the LSU game are games that they could possibly slip up on. If they're playing the way they're playing now, and them teams and those teams have a decent defense compared to Tennessee, I can possibly see Alabama losing a game. And we'll end up seeing Ole Miss, Mississippi State in the SEC championship. And if we see one of those two, hopefully we beat them convincingly and stay number one and face who's ever at number 4. Because I don't think Oregon want to see Georgia again. I don't think Clemson want to see Georgia at this point. And the only team I can say that really would have a decent chance of beating Georgia is Ohio State. And I don't like them either, but it's not as bad as my discontent for Florida. So, oh yeah, I just remember something else that I heard Uncle Lou talking about. I think it was Lockdown Bulldogs was talking about Carson Beck being the best backup quarterback. I have a 50-50 thought process on them. They come out and do more hype jobs than anybody else I've seen so far on YouTube that talks about Georgia. I can't speak on any other teams because I don't really watch other teams' podcasts like that or YouTube videos like that. They talk so much, I guess you could say rat poison. It's ridiculous. How is Carson Beck one of the baddest or the best backup quarterback, and the man hasn't even had a chance to not even start a game, which is not his fault, but to finish a decent game out, meaning getting in third and fourth quarter and finishing off Auburn, finishing off Oregon, finishing off South Carolina, those type of teams. Like, he literally adds more points to it. Let's say it's 21-14, he puts up another 14 points. Not saying him, but I mean, he gets in, throw passes, do what he got to do, run for yards, that type of stuff against teams. When has he shown that ability to do that? Like, they sound to me like halfway built Disney Dawgs. This stuff is irking me. There's nothing wrong with having optimism for your team or for a team that you cover or whatever the case may be, but you got to be real with it. You can't be talking about Carson Beck is the best, or could he be the best backup quarterback? And this is something else Uncle Lou said. He was like, there are backup quarterbacks on other teams that have actually won games. Has Carson Beck had an opportunity to win a game? No. And like I said, this is no knock on him because he can't make the coach put him in to run the offense. He can't do that. He don't have that pull. And even if he did, it's up to the coaches to put him in and let him do it. And if Stetson is hurt and he's not really able to pull off certain passes, why not put him in and let him finish? And like as a matter of fact, let him take over a game so it will show that he is one of the best. This is something that bothers me when it comes to people overhyping specific players like they just did something and really haven't been given the opportunity to show that. I'm gonna use Malachi Starks for instance. He's the best defender, let's just say in high school, that has came out of high school that went to Georgia. But the man never really set foot on the field but for like 3 plays, and he didn't even throw to his side. He didn't have an opportunity to show that. So how are you going to say he's the best and haven't been given the opportunity to do it? Okay, flip it this way. Let's say he does get in, he get 1 pick and runs it back for a touchdown, but they no longer throw to that side. They run to that side and block him out the way, or he's missing tackles. How is he considered the best? Carson Beck hasn't really had a chance to show it. And if you watch Georgia under Kirby Smart, what backup quarterback, even when Stetson was there, before he left and came back, with JT Daniels being there, what backup quarterback for Georgia has literally came in and took over a game? If you say Jake Fromm, not really, because he had no choice but to come in when Eason got hurt. So he didn't really take over a game. So what backup quarterback has came in and taken over a game for Georgia? If anybody see this video, drop a comment and let me know, because I could be wrong. Fields didn't get a chance to do it. Eason was still throwing picks the last time I had seen him play for Georgia. Like almost every time he got in, he threw an interception. But then he took off at Washington. Stetson, maybe Stetson. But other than that, what quarterback has came in for Georgia and literally taken over a game or brought us back from being down, let's just say 14 points, and then we run it up by 28 points. We get those 14 and then add another 14 to it. I don't know of any quarterback that has done it for Georgia. Running backs, plenty. Wide receivers, somewhat. Tight ends, probably say Brock. But Brock has started the majority of the time, so you really can't even say that. So all this Disney dog hype, y'all need to calm that shit down. Cause this shit is stupid. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with having optimism for your team, but just having utter blatant blindness to what's really going on and what you're seeing on the field, man, you gotta calm that down. And this is not to say that lockdown on Georgia or lockdown on Bulldogs don't spit facts. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is y'all got to kill that overhype and optimism, man. Like, tone that down. Because fans, I'm going to say my opinion, fans want to hear realistic things that go on, not this hypeness, if that's a word, of their team just being miraculous, just being unbeatable, this, that, and the third. Any team is beatable. Even the Alabama teams that went undefeated could be beat. When Georgia went undefeated last year, up into the SEC championship, could have been beaten. So it's not like it's not like any team is just undefeatable or can't be defeated. Like, I'd rather be a realist than have fantasies of sugar plums dancing in my head about how good Georgia is when I've seen otherwise on multiple occasions, even under Kirby Smart. And it seemed like Kirby was willing to rotate the quarterbacks out because we already know Stetson's not going to be there next year. We coming into the hardest stretch of games after the Florida game. Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi State, and excuse the truck noise. Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi State, and I want to say Georgia Tech, or maybe one more team. And then we're off to the SEC championship. If Tennessee don't do it, I don't see nobody else who could do it. I don't see nobody else knocking Georgia off in the regular season. And if Alabama slips up against one of those three teams in the West and then Auburn, I really can't say who's going to come out of the West and play Georgia in the SEC championship. I think Ole Miss is still undefeated. So it'll probably be Ole Miss. If Ole Miss beat Alabama, it'll be Georgia versus Ole Miss. And that game I'm not going to call. I'm not going to make no predictions on. I'm just going to say that's going to be a nice tight game off the rip. So with that being my thought process on that, just calm that down, man. Even though I know most folks not going to hear me on that or even agree with me on that, that's cool, that's fine, that's dandy. And one more thing. I was in the Dawg Nation chat for a few minutes today, had some business to take care of, and I'm hearing about Jermaine Burton punching a chick. What the hell is going on with that? You lost. Okay, so what? Now, unless she put her hands on you, I don't see no reason in punching a female nor a male if they don't put their hands on you. You know Tennessee is already rowdy. You played at Georgia for, I want to say, 2 years. You already know how that goes. In the 2 years you were there, we beat Tennessee. So this time you transfer to Alabama, hoping to get some more stats to make you look a little better when you go to the NFL. And to my understanding, you really didn't get any better. Not saying your playing has downgraded, but as far as getting shots thrown to you, you really haven't gotten any better. So you could have just stayed at Georgia. But y'all lose to Tennessee in a very close game. To me, I look at it as if you shouldn't even be mad. Kangaroo Black ain't gonna try to hit it. I can understand that. Trust me, I can understand it. But y'all played a hard-fought game. I'm hearing from multiple people that they had 17 penalties against them. I don't care who you are. 17 penalties against you, offense and defense. I'm not going to say you're not going to win. It's just going to make it that much tougher to win. So something got to tighten up. And like most people know, Alabama's going to get better. They take a loss. They come back like a raging bull. They get the monkey stomping everybody in their path. So whoever Alabama got to play next, I feel for you. Because I don't think Alabama's off this week. So whoever they got after this L, yeah, they might catch that 59 points. Or 63 or whatever the case may be with that. Hopefully Bryce is doing better. And hopefully AD Mitchell and the players on Georgia are getting better. And their injuries are not too serious. But other than that, it's DSA1 UGA fan rant and opinion. I'm out.